In the fall of 2012, we took a AAA tour to Spain and Portugal. And once again, I will pre-apologize for any mispronunciations in my videos. Although there are a lot of places to see and walk around to in Lisbon, here are three of the places we went to. The construction on the Jeronimos Monastery commenced in 1501, and it was completed roughly a century later. Now that is commitment. The monastery was designed in a manner that would later become known as Manueline, again, if I may say that correctly. The monastery replaced the church formerly existing in the same place, which was dedicated to Santa Maria di Bellum, and where the monks of the Military Religious Order of Christ provided assistance to seafarers in transit. Now the new monastery was dedicated to the Order of Saint Jerome. I apologize for a lot of these darker shots. My camera in 2012 didn't handle low light as well as the newer ones do. The monastery was erected near the launch point of Vasco da Gama's first journey, and its construction funded by a tax on the profits of the yearly Portuguese India armadas. In 1880, da Gama's remains were moved to a newly carved tomb in the nave of the monastery's church, only a few meters away from the tombs of the Kings Manuel I and John III, whom da Gama had served. In 1604, Philip of Spain, who ruled after the Iberian Union, made the monastery a royal funerary monument, prohibiting anyone but the royal family and the Order of St. Jerome monks from entering the building. With the restoration of Portuguese independence in 1640, when the Portuguese people revolted against Spanish rule, the monastery regained much of its former importance, becoming the burial place for the Portuguese royal families. The monastery, unlike most of Lisbon, withstood the 1755 Lisbon earthquake without much damage. Close to the monastery is the Monument to the Discoveries. Between November 1958 and January 1960, this monument celebrates the Portuguese Age of Discovery or Age of Exploration during the 15th and 16th centuries. Built in honor of Henry the Navigator, it was Prince Henry the Navigator who is considered to have initiated the Age of Discovery in 1415 Portugal by funding and organizing extensive explorations along the African coast and Atlantic islands. The Bellum Tower is officially the Tower of St. Vincent. It is part of a 16th century fortification that guarded the waterway and also served as a point of embarkation and disembarkation for Portuguese explorers and as a ceremonial gateway to Lisbon. There's a small model of it on the beach. I don't know why, because you can go into the tower. The project was started on a basaltic rock outcrop, which is a short distance from the riverbank, using some of the stone being collected to build the Monastery of Santa Maria di Bellum. As construction progressed, a man of war called the Great Ship, a heavily armed 1,000-ton ship, continued to guard the estuary at the mouth of the Tagus until the fort's completion in 1519. On to the next site, the Cathedral of Saint Mary Major. The Cathedral of Saint Mary Major, often called Lisbon Cathedral, is a Roman Catholic cathedral and is the oldest church in the city, built in 1147. The cathedral has survived many earthquakes and has been modified and renovated and restored several times. This resulted in a mix of different architectural styles. It's also the seat of the Patriarch of Lisbon. There are ongoing excavations revealing Roman, Islamic, and Christian influences. Now, this trip was in 2012, so in 2025, which we're heading into when I'm doing this video, I can't imagine what they've found. The city of Lisbon was conquered by the Moors and stayed under Arab control from the 8th to the 12th century, although Christians were allowed to live in Lisbon and its surrounding areas. In the year 1147, the city was reconquered by an army composed of Portuguese soldiers and North European crusaders taking part in the Second Crusade. A new bishop was installed and a new cathedral was built on the site of the main mosque in Lisbon. During the Portuguese War of Succession between 1383 and 1385, where the current prince who died with no heir, the populace suspected that the bishop at that time was plotting with the Castilians, and an angry crowd threw him out of the window of the North Tower. They really did not want to go back under Spanish rule. Earthquakes have always been a problem for Lisbon and its cathedral, and there were several in the 14th and 16th centuries, but the worst of all was the 1755 Lisbon earthquake, which destroyed the Gothic main chapel along with the royal pantheon. The cloisters and many chapels were also ruined by the quake and the fire that followed. The cathedral was partially rebuilt, and an extensive renovation in the early 20th century gave it its current appearance. In recent years, the central courtyard of the cloister has been excavated, and again, this is in 2012, and remains from the Roman, Visigoth, and medieval periods have been found. This is more than just another cathedral. This is a whole history lesson in one location. If you get to Lisbon, this has to be one of your must-sees. Onward to other Portugal sites.